some of the things that I think are important that I've adopted as I've simplified my life and as I've walked out of people pleasing and codependency is knowing what you want the holidays to look like, and then structuring your schedule and your yes and your no along those lines. So when you sit and you think, okay, what would I want the holidays to be like? I want them to be like slow, low key. I want it to be, just kind of bullet pointing some of the values. Do I want it to be a time of connection? Do I want it to be a time when I actually spend a lot of money, or I don't? Knowing some of the things that feel valuable or just feel aligned with the season of life you're in right now. There's times when we can afford to be busier during the holidays, and there's times when we actually need to slow it down, and that might vary year to year. So knowing the season you're in and knowing what's valuable to you helps you to then know what to say yes to and what to say no to. So instead of feeling the pressure of, well, I can feel their expectation on me. They really want me to be at this party. Or I feel the expectation of they would really like this gift, just especially if it's someone you care about and something they want. But you already have you've already set in place how you're trying to navigate the season. Then it makes it easier, not easy, but easier to know how to respond to those pressures, because you're not responding off of the emotion of that moment. You're responding based off of something that's bigger, something that's almost outside of you. You're adapting to it, but it's maybe not yours. It's maybe the general idea. Like Farah, you said, this commercialism, like you just don't want to buy into it. Well, that means you're going to structure your holidays differently than some people, because some people are, without even recognizing, buying into that. So, so really practically, like, sometimes I'll see pictures of people under their tree and there's just so many presents. And this is no shame, this is no judgment on that. But if the presents are all there under the tree because, well, this is what we do at Christmas, then what's the point? So I think stepping back and considering, why are we doing what we do, is a great place to be. Like, oh, why am I so busy? Years ago, I felt like the holiday season was super busy, but now I don't feel that way. But that's because I've actually stopped doing so many of the expected things. It means I don't make it to all the events that I get invited to. It means some years Christmas cards don't get sent, or they get sent later. So again, just think about the interactions you have with a cashier or a bank teller. I've found that sometimes over the holiday season, people are talking about just getting through it, that they're super stressed, that they hate this time of year. And that's not everyone. There's some people that love this time of year. But I think there is a lot of that, and we don't have to be one of those people. And again, especially if you're doing things or not doing things based off of the expectations of society or other people, then I'm really encouraging you to evaluate. Or if we're going to look at, like, okay, why do I even do these things? Consider how it was growing up. Because some of the things we're going to do are simply because well, this is all I've ever known. Like, this is how we did it. This is how my parents did it. Or this is how they didn't do it. I used to think going with my kids and Evan to pick out the Christmas tree was like super important. And then I've realized some years I don't go with them and they go pick out a live tree. And as long as I don't complain about whatever type they bring back, then I'm cool with it. Because if I'm going to have that strong of opinion, I might as well go and help pick out the tree. But I had to reshape my thought around that. Like, no, this doesn't have to be a family outing. It can be, but maybe something else is going to be a family outing, and that isn't. So letting go of this mentality that, well, we started this once, it became a tradition, and how could I not follow through? People are going to be disappointed, or maybe I'm going to even feel some emotions that I'm uncomfortable with. You might. And that's a part of living, is having to face some emotions that are uncomfortable. So my encouragement is, let's not be afraid of that. And let's embrace it, where I feel a little bit of sadness. I feel a little bit of disappointment. This is different than it was in the past. And yet this is what it is this year. And maybe it's not going to be next year. Maybe what's different or what feels disappointing this year is truly only for this particular year. So that's one element. I think another important piece is navigating the actual times we're together with family. I know that sometimes when you're with family that some family members are just uncomfortable to be around. They have strong opinions, or they disagree with things, and it comes up when you're with them, right? I don't think the goal is to have to drink extra alcohol, take extra smoke breaks, or do these other things that we're very used to seeing people do to cope. Like, this is very, very, very common. Let's just have a little more alcohol so that it makes being with the people we have a hard time being with a little bit more tolerable. Okay. Again, there's no shame or judgment in this. It's simply the idea that, is there another way? And I think there is. I think knowing what your boundaries and your limits need to be ahead of time, again, predetermining. If there's a family member that's hard to be around, you don't have to go for the whole event. You don't have to stay the whole day. You can make an appearance and say, know within yourself, okay, I'm going to be here for 30 minutes. I'm going to stay here for an hour or 2 hours, whatever feels good to you. And then it doesn't even need to be something that you tell the others. You just know, now is my time to head out. Hey, I'm going to head out. Some people might be like, oh, why are you leaving so soon? Okay. They're entitled to feel that way. It also doesn't mean you have to stay longer. I think it's also fine to predetermine, I think I only want to stay this amount of time. And then you evaluate when you're there. If you are truly enjoying yourself, you feel like, you know what, I would like to stay an extra half an hour. You deciding that in the moment is okay, as long as you're deciding it based off of how you're really doing. Like, again, I don't feel pressured to stay. I'm enjoying myself and I'm choosing to stay for another 30 minutes. That is fine. It's not going against what you set in place if you check in with yourself after you've stayed there that amount of time. Now, what about when you have a controversial situation arise and you're there, you're not trying to just run away from the situation? What to do then? And my suggestion is to take a bathroom break and ground yourself, where you recognize your breathing, you take some deep breaths, You remind yourself of anything that you need to hear, whether it's I am safe in this moment and I literally wrap my arms around myself and I rock, whether it's these people and their opinions do not define me, or this person has their viewpoint and it's different than mine, and we're allowed to have different viewpoints. And you're in there giving yourself a little bit of a pep talk, but you're also in taking a moment away because you need to offer yourself the compassion and the empathy that isn't being offered to you by that other person or persons. So this idea of grounding ourselves is literally I think of it as I'm coming back into my body. Instead of needing to escape my body because I do not feel safe, I am deliberately checking my breath. I am connecting with myself, and I am affirming myself. And through all these means and others that you might feel work well for you, we're reintegrating and able to come back into our body instead of needing to get away and escape it. Because we learn through what we experience in life that at times it doesn't feel safe to stay inside of our body. So we dissociate. We're somewhere else in our mind. Right? Think about the kid who's being hit, they're being abused, maybe they're being yelled at. They could be zoning out, tuning out what's happening. They could be in Lulu La La Land. They're going to do whatever they have to do to get through that, which is dissociation, and we need it to survive things, but we don't want to continue that when we intentionally are trying to heal and change our patterns. When we're trying to heal and change our patterns, we then want to say, how can I come out of that dissociated place and re-enter my body as clearly as things are going on right now? Like in this moment for us being aware of ourselves might be noticing, oh, my mouth feels dry right now. Probably I need to take a sip of something, some water to drink. Or whatever it is for you. Oh, I'm warm. I'm cold. My stomach hurts. I feel very settled and safe. It's noticing so that we can be present in this moment with ourselves. Not in our heads. I wonder what somebody else on the screen is thinking of me. Again, those are normal thoughts. There's nothing the matter with them, but they're another way that we're not fully we're preoccupied with the idea of what somebody else might think instead of just embracing who we are, where we are, and just being. So I think that stepping away and grounding yourself and then going back. That doesn't mean you have to go back to pick up the conversation with that person that you were having. It may just mean being able to reintegrate back into the group. You can actually be straight and plain and say, I don't want to continue the conversation with whoever it was that, might have started having some sort of conversation that you were uncomfortable with. Because I think this very easily happens when we get together with people, family, other people. I know some of you said you enjoy it being with the family, which is terrific. But even if it's not the holidays, latch on to this for the times when you're like, oh yeah, yep, I can think about those times when even somebody I live with on the day-to-day says things or does things, and I want to escape. I want to numb out. How can I, instead of numbing out, actually get in touch with myself, with what is going on within me. So let's just take a couple deep breaths before, as a way to again reintegrate and come back into our bodies, and to create a space that feels safe in this moment for us to receive the goodness that is available. So just breathe in, hold that breath, slowly exhale. So I just set the expectation that this holiday season is going to actually be full of joy, that it's going to be better than we're expecting, better than we can imagine, and better than we've experienced in the past. To every bit of pain, dysfunction, stress, and chaos that we've experienced around holidays in the past, in that place, I release peace and hope and joy. That those memories, that those experiences that we did walk through would not have to affect this holiday season. That this holiday season, we would feel that we're entering spaces unhindered. We're not walking in remembering, oh, I have that memory of last year or years ago and what happened. That this time we'd be able to be in the season, actually experiencing the fullness of joy, the fullness of peace and rest. I bless each of you with the ability to rest in the middle of the busyness, in the middle of what some people say, is chaotic, and what other people say is the happiest time of the year. That for each of you, for each of us, we would be able to experience it with a rest. That even people coming in contact with us would say, wow, it's like you carry this rest on your shoulders. Not a heaviness, not a weight, but something that feels restful and light. That you would be the wind as you walk past people, as you interact with people, that the wind that they catch from you and from your spirit and from the energy field around you, that it would be what causes them to feel at rest. That they would be able to get a taste because of your example, that the holidays can be low stress, that the holidays can be fun, that they can be non-commercialized, but really full of connection and depth and joy. So I bless you with that, and with the ability to connect with yourself more fully than you have in the past, to be able to recognize the needs you have and to honor those needs, to create pockets and places and spaces to meet those needs. That you would feel a freedom to ask for help, that you would even feel a sense of audacity, a sense of determination that it is okay that I have needs and I should ask for help. And it would just be a shift within you, that to that part of you that has felt like uncomfortable or bad for asking for help, that wouldn't just not be the case this time around. That this time around you would just feel like, no, it's gotten a little bit easier. It's become a little bit more natural.
Yeah.
And in that little child you once were would know, yes, I'm not too much. I'm not the problem. I deserve help. I deserve to have my needs met. Because you do.